Today's guest is a former Department of Defense employee and a lifelong alien contact experiencer. She runs the website timefordisclosure.com and the accompanying Facebook group. Please give a massive Koit welcome to Nancy Thames. Hello Nancy, and welcome to KoitCast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on, so thank you for coming. Tell us a bit about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? All that good stuff.
All right. My name is Nancy Thames. I grew up in Tennessee in the United States. I now live in Mississippi. And I am a lifelong contactee with interdimensional beings and positive extraterrestrials. And basically, this all started from my birth, but my conscious memory started around 2 or 3 years old. And I have vivid memories of them physically coming to visit me and taking me. There would always be 3 grays that would come, and these were hybrids, a hybrid that was designed to be adaptable to the density of Earth. Interdimensionals and extraterrestrials have a problem with the density of Earth, and it's not comfortable. So they tweak the DNA and design these hybrids that are about 4 foot tall to come down and do the legwork. And they always travel in 3s. One of them is a female that is bonded with me, and she comes to get me every single time that I am taken aboard craft by her. And she is a reddish brown color. She is definitely a female. She talks to me telepathic, but when she talks to me, you really can't tell whether she's male or female. And she's very task oriented, so there's not a lot of emotion, but I have a great emotional bond with her, a feeling of love, and she does towards me. And I just know that she's a female. I can just sense this and feel our relationship. So this has been going on all my life. And as I've gotten older, it has changed somewhat. When I was very young, when they would come to visit me, for example, it may be in the middle of the night or something, I would wake up. I have the ability, I sense that they're coming. And when I know that they're coming, a lot of times, I don't know if they would tell me telepathically to try to make it easier for me, but I would keep my eyes closed. And then they would come and I would feel my blanket being pulled off of me. And then I would feel her take a scanner in her hand. And this didn't touch my skin, but she would run a scanner from my head all the way down to my toes, and from my toes all the way back up, over and over. And eventually then I would feel my body start to float up or lift up off the bed. And when this would happen, I would open my eyes and look around and look down and see that this was physically happening to me. This was not an out-of-body experience. It was not a dream. It was physically happening. And I would look over and I would be holding her hand. And sometimes I would look at her and make eye contact. And sometimes as I got older and fear started to play into a little bit of it, I would ignore her. So I never understood why they were doing what they were doing and how they were able to take me by the hand and go up through a ceiling or through a door or through a window. I never understood it. And I can remember going up through the ceiling and then looking around in the attic and seeing insulation and realizing I'm in the attic and seeing the floor and me coming up through it. So, I would say, what is going on? But she would never answer me. Yeah.
So this has been going on since what age would you say?
Birth, and consciously remembering since about 2 or 3 years old. Yeah.
Okay, so when you consciously remember the first experience, I know you've probably said this a million times across a load of podcasts, but let's hit that one if we can, because it's a good grounding. What happened the first time, and what do you remember? And then we'll go from there. We'll unpack it.
They appear in my room, and sometimes I visually look, and sometimes I don't, depending on either they're telling me telepathically what to do, or either it's how I'm feeling at the time. So if when I see them, they'll just come forwards to me and then start getting me prepared to get up and to go. If I'm a little fearful, I'll keep my eyes closed, and then we'll go through the same performance of them. And I do know now, as I've gotten older, because this has been ongoing up until even last night, I have conscious visitations with them, face-to-face contact. And what they were doing is that human beings are at a low frequency. So they were taking this scanner and they were changing my frequency, elevating it up to their frequency so that I could travel as they do, which would be from where I am, my room, my bedroom, wherever I am. And it doesn't matter where I am. This has happened to me all different places. I've lived all around the world, and take me from where I am to craft. And amazing thing that I've noticed as we're going to craft is that when I see the craft, it looks about the size. It's just a metallic disc, like a standard, no frills, nothing fancy, no writing or anything. It's just a silver disc, reflective. And it looks about the size of a football field here in America, or a footy field for y'all, I guess, a rugby field.
Yeah.
But when you step into the craft, it changes. It's like humongous. It's like, it's not what the size that you visually saw it as. It is much, much bigger.
Okay, so one of my questions would be, how do you know they're interdimensional? Do they tell you that, or is it just
Yeah.
assumptions?
No, they tell me. They at first they didn't tell me as much, or I didn't retain as much. I don't know which one it was, really, because it's a lot to absorb. So throughout my life, when I would ask them questions, and I've demanded a lot of information, and they've given it to me. I demanded to know why this was happening to me. Why me? Why is this happening to my children? Because I witnessed my children being taken for their first time, and they're a part of this as well. They have experiences, especially the oldest son has experiences just like I do, and he gets downloads and the whole 9 yards. So, but when I got in my 20s and stuff, that's when they started giving me more conscious time, and I started demanding this information. And they took me before a group of elders, and these elders were all interdimensionals. They were like a high council, a group of elders, and there were many of them. And I couldn't tell you the number of them, but I do know that they all represented like different races. And they were not humans at all, but they had human-like features. And they showed me a vision first they explained to me that before I became a human being, that I had made a decision to come here and be here at this time. This is a pivotal moment for humanity. We are reaching higher consciousness, and this was a major event, and I had agreed to be here to assist and help people to understand the misinformation, to understand why they are here now, why it's happening at this particular time. And I'm here to be a messenger of good information and truth. So, and I told them, well, I don't remember any of this, which, most people, I don't remember, I only remember being a human being. I don't have memories of things like that. And so they showed me a vision of myself being in a kind of an etheric or interdimensional form. I'm not really sure which, but sitting patiently waiting, and them coming to me and saying, it's time for your human experience. And then they showed me through this visions, and I could see myself walking, and I could see myself headed towards my new adventure. And I saw myself, like my soul essence, going into a human and becoming into the fetus. And then they told me that when I was born, that I would not remember any of this until a later time, but they would be visiting me throughout my life. And as I got older, more would be explained to me. And at some point, I would remember these events. So I just kind of left it at that. I mean, I was getting close to 30 at this point, in my 20s, getting, upper 20s. And I didn't really know what to make of this. And so I just really, a lot of times I basically had to suppress a lot of this, because to be able to function as a human being, you have to kind of set a boundary where you can't let you question your sanity, you question all these things, because these are normal things that happen to your average human being. And I found out at a very young age that this is not things people like to talk about. I grew up in a Bible Belt area, and these things were considered demonic, and they would put people in mental institutions. So I figured out very quick that you cannot talk about these things, and that people didn't want to talk about it, and it was not acceptable. At schools, Girl Scouts, or any of these things, it was not accepted.
Okay, well let's hit bang on that, because you've raised a point there about the demonic side of things. I had L.A. Marzulli on recently, and he's of the school that aliens, extraterrestrials, are demonic.
They
So
are not.
yeah, so how do you know that they're not?
Because they
What is
all
that?
have souls, and they believe in creator source. They do not believe that's their version of what we call God. But you have to understand, all of our versions of God and things are man-made written stories. They are man's interpretation at a period of time. They really didn't have a great thing to compare it to, and really having no knowledge or anything, they did the best they could, and there's nothing wrong with that. But extraterrestrials and interdimensional believe in creator source. Creator source is neither male or female, and it is a divine, it is over everything, all universes, all galaxies, all beings throughout. We are not the only beings. Earth is not the only planet that has life on it, and creator source is over all.
And creator
So
source, is that then all souls mixed together? Is that what that is? Or is it
creator
something
source
different?
is the divine source that created everything. And it's neither male or female. It's more of a etheric state. And from what they told me, and what they've showed me in visions, we are having a human experience. The human experience is a very short experience compared to any other beings throughout the universe or galaxies. And there's many, many universes and galaxies. And we are in a vessel. And when we leave this vessel, our consciousness and our soul goes up to creator source and goes before a group of the elders, and decisions are made as to where, in our soul contracts, before we get here, we make decisions what we want to experience here on earth. And if we have reached all these experiences, then we can we can come back here if we want to, or we could choose to be an extraterrestrial or interdimensional, or we could choose to be a dolphin, whatever we want to do.
I do
If
want to be
we
a dolphin, so yeah.
Yes, yeah, I do too. And so if you have not met all of your experience expectations between your soul contract within yourself and the elders and council, then you will come back and repeat to obtain these experiences that your soul feels is necessary. When you get to a point where you feel like, well, you've experienced all these things, you can just stay in an etheric state, a non-physical state, and be up in the highest dimension around creator source. And you can stay there forever. It's infinite. We're
Okay.
immortal.
Here's some questions for you then, right? So, if are we all soul beings on Earth? Have we all got souls?
Yes.
Okay, so There's no like humans running around without souls, as far as you're aware.
There is no there's no humans without
Yeah.
souls.
So then that throws up the
There's no
question.
extraterrestrials trying to steal souls either.
Good. I don't want anyone doing that or eating it for that matter.
They don't eat us. They don't eat.
No, we don't want that.
No.
Okay,
We have too many toxins, and all of our food, our water, our air, everything is poisonous and toxic. They wouldn't touch us with a 10-foot pole.
don't blame them. I probably smell of Pepsi Max. When if everyone's got a soul,
Yes.
why is it then that you're chosen and other contactees are chosen? What's I know it's to use the word is wrong really, but what's special about you? Why are they taking you? What are they gaining from the experience?
Well, if you recall, I told you that I made an agreement to come here. I was
Mhm.
an interdimensional and extra interdimensional being and made the decision to come here. Positive extraterrestrials and interdimensionals will only have contact with people in direct lineage with them. We are all human beings are here on free will, and we all have made soul contracts. Unfortunately, we don't remember our past when we come here. Eventually, through our evolution and reaching higher consciousness, that will begin to change, and children in the future will remember their past. But at the present, it's wiped out because we're here to have experiences. And the fact that we are here on free will, extraterrestrials and interdimensionals cannot step in to any other person's life because it's a cosmic law, and we're here on free will. They are not to interfere. So you, before you came here, made a contract, an agreement of what you wish to experience. So they cannot overstep that boundary. However, people that have had abduction type experience, which I've never experienced, they were contacted by a lower realm of extraterrestrials that overstepped this boundary. And when they overstepped this boundary and made agreements with governments, traded out technology for research on their end, which was their task, not the overall positive extraterrestrials or interdimensionals. This was a rogue group that decided to do their own thing. And they really have no empathy for human beings at all. They're not demonic, but they're very task oriented, and they're self-serving. They could care less about any other race, only their own. But when they did that, they were excommunicated by all of the bigger number of positive extraterrestrials and interdimensionals who all are in a collective consciousness that are in a huge number. And what happened was, when they saw that humanity was starting to reach higher consciousness, and I can't give you an exact date, but let's, for example, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. I don't really know the exact date, and I'm not going to make things up because I do not know everything, and I do not pretend to know everything. But when they saw that humanity was starting to reach higher consciousness, and we are on the verge of ascension into leaving the 3D world and going into our fourth dimension, they started coming down in our galaxy and surrounding our planet, and coming in big numbers and big motherships. And they told these lower realm, what I call negative, but when I say negative, I only say that to show a difference in their empathy for human beings. They have none. We're the positive, love everything about our planet and us. They told them to leave human beings, leave humanity alone, that they were here now, and that their research, their havoc and things must end. And they showed me videos of our visions of all these craft leaving Earth, because they knew that they were no match for the interdimensionals who have higher technology and higher intelligence, and that they could not compete. So a lot of them left. Some are still here and they're fighting tooth and nail to maintain their power because they have achieved power by hooking up with different fractions of government, certain black hats, certain cabal elites, Illuminati, different fractions that are the really rich that control our governments and play a lot of our political leaders as puppets and human beings as puppets. They manipulate us and keep us dumbed down. They keep toxins in our air, our food, our water, everything. They keep us dependent on pharmaceutical companies. And all these things are not supposed to be this way. They have our pineal gland crystallized and non-functional. And this is a part of our body that's supposed to work. And there's certain parts of our DNA that's never been activated because of their keeping us dumbed down. When I say dumbed down, I mean keeping us at lower consciousness because they cannot make money off intelligent, healthy human beings.
I agree with all that because I know control is key. You know, if you want power, you have to control the population, and the best way to control a population is to make them dumb and not give them education. I understand that completely. Now, the bit I was interested in going back to was the everyone's made a soul contract. So that's every human on Earth, that's
Yes.
a human now, has made a soul contract to do X, Y, or Z here. And you and others like yourself that have been contacted by interdimensional, or the ones you would call positive aliens, you've made a same soul contract, but your soul contract is open to say that you could then have contact. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I made an agreement before I came here. So with me, they can tweak my DNA. If this body has a cancer or whatever, they can fix me. Some people, they would love to fix, they have a cancer or a disease, but they cannot overstep the boundary of free will. And some people literally have a soul contract and they come here to experience having a disease. I know that sounds really weird. And some people don't have a very short life here, but that's all they wanted in their soul contract. And I don't fully understand all of it. And I can't say that I totally grasp it all because it's a big cookie to swallow. I just lost my 29-year-old daughter-in-law that has a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. And I know what I've been told, but I also know in my heart that I miss her and my grandchildren miss her. So it is a hard thing to swallow, a hard thing to understand, but there's things that go on in our universe and world that we don't know, and we are just now learning and reaching higher consciousness and starting to figure some of these things out.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that. It's an
Yeah.
unfortunate thing of life is like that everyone that we know will die at some point, which is a
Yes.
nightmare, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Does that mean then that the people like yourself who've chosen to be potentially contacted and helped along the way, are you playing the game on an easier level than, say, somebody like me who's never had contact, assuming I've never had contact?
No, I've had my personal struggles. I have experienced the good and the bad, but now I realize I'm 63 years old and I realize that everything in my life I needed to experience, not only for myself and my soul, but also it is the best way for the interdimensional and positive extraterrestrials to understand what it's like to be a human being. It is not a bed of roses. It is very hard to be a human being. And they do not have all these emotions and things that we have. So it is everything that I've experienced, they've experienced and seen through my experiences and through my eyes. So it is a beautiful way for them to have a better understanding what it's like to be down here.
So let's just play out some numbers, right? Let's just
Sure.
call them interdimensional planet A. I'm just throwing that out there. Let's just say there's 100 million whatever's on that planet, and you are one of, say, 1 million that come here to experience things. Do you then go back to that interdimensional realm and then disseminate all that out? Is that how it works? Or are they only getting the experience from taking you intermittently from here?
I know that when I leave here, I'm going back to where I came from. I know that I have family still there waiting on me. When I go to craft, I know that there's a group of peers always watching me, and I purposely do not make eye contact because I know they are my family. And I know I love my family here. I love my life here. And they're watching me, evaluating me, checking my mentality, checking my evolutionary stage. How am I balancing two lives, living two lives? And for me, I'm avoiding it at this point because I love my life here so much. And I know when I see them, it's all going to come flooding in. And I don't want to, I'm not ready to make any decisions or feel pulled towards one or the other. But I also know, and my son and I, like I said, he has the same experience that we have. And I do not know everything, and I'm still asking for information. And with time, they will tell me. But I do. They want me to enjoy my life here, so they're not going to tell me more than I'm able to comprehend and understand because they want to keep my mental stability good. But my son and I, it could be that we are in a sleep stasis up there, and this is a dream down here.
Well, that's a big question, isn't it?
I mean,
Which is the
it's
reality?
a
I know
lot.
it is a big question.
It is amazing, but that's the beautiful part about he and I having these experiences. We can talk about these things. This is not something you go to your neighbor and start having a cup of tea and talk it up. You know what I mean? So,
And what does he say to you? Does he say exactly the same that you would think?
oh, absolutely. We have been in this. They sent us both on a mission or a trip, a mother-son trip to Mexico. We flew into Mexico City, and they took a short flight over to Oaxaca. It's a southernmost state in Mexico on the Pacific side, and they wanted us to go up to San Jose del Pacifico, a little 3-hour drive up into the mountains, and it was very primitive. There was no ATMs, there was no internet, there was no cell phones, it was not a tourist area. They wanted us to meet an indigenous tribe, the Zapotecs. They're also called the people of the clouds, and they were on the verge of reaching ascension, and it plummeted. So they wanted us to go up there, and my son's in better physical condition than I am. He's 42, I believe, 41, excuse me. And he could go out and do the hikes through the forest and things that I have no interest in. I'm not that physically fit. But anyway, they wanted us to experience this very eco-friendly, friendly race of indigenous people that understand their connection with nature, understand their connection with all creatures, all beings, and even the universe. And they wanted us to experience that they were on the verge of their ascension. And this tribe goes back as far as the Incas and the Mayans. And it plummeted because their younger generation basically left their tribe and got interested in materialistic things and technology and basically abandoned their people, and they are now a dying race and a dying culture. So they wanted us to see the impact that has, because I believe because AI technology is a big topic for everyone in the world right now on whether it's good or bad. So they were giving me and my son or myself, they don't take us at the same time. We're both aware when they come for one or the other, but they'll say to me when they make their presence, and the three that come for him are not the same three that come for me. He has his own bonded group. But they'll come to me and say, or tell me, this is not about you, go back to sleep. And I do.
No,
So
it is an interesting one. So three come to get you, three come to get him.
They always travel
Presumably
in pairs of three. Mhm.
pairs or threes, yeah. Do you know the names of those three? Do they have
I do
names?
not ask them their names. I don't. To me, we have an understanding and a bond. There is no need for names. It is not a human relationship. We try to humanize everything, and there is nothing human about extraterrestrials or interdimensionals. When they come to get me, they have said my name to draw my attention, or they have said my name, but I've never. If I know their name, I don't know it consciously, and I communicate with them, and it goes directly to them, but I don't address them as a name, because when I talk to them, they all hear. So it's kind of a collective consciousness. So when you're talking, when she talks to me, I don't know if I even told you this, but her voice I hear, but it's not male or female, and there's no inflection. When I talk to the interdimensionals and the other extraterrestrials, I sense inflection in their telepathic messages, and I can tell male and female. And I don't know if that's because she's a created hybrid or what the reason for that is, but I don't call them by names or anything like that.
So let's just put it as yourself in a scenario. Say you were like looking this way. We're going to call it Alien One on the left, and you've got your main lady that you deal with on the right, and then the other one for also on the right. If you sort of like telepathically talk to this one, how could you refer to that one? You know, the lady
I
one.
think because of them not being human, they're respectful and they know when each other what they're going to do. So there's a balance that we humans yet to understand. Again, we try to humanize in our understanding, but there is no human understanding. Our physics does not apply to them. Our what the way we label things does not apply. Nothing that we do here on Earth applies to their way of life or their thinking. I do know that, just like the way that we travel in space and stuff is not the way that they travel. Their crafts are conscious living beings, and their pilots are, when they are chosen by their parent, their service to their race is decided. And so their DNA is tweaked to be a pilot. And a pilot is bonded to a craft, and nobody else can fly that craft but that pilot. So when the pilot gets in, and it could be male or female, gets in the craft, the extraterrestrial's consciousness meets with the craft's consciousness, and then they simply telepathically think where they want to go, and then bam, they go. They do not use fuels. They do not use the type of things that we use here on Earth. They are billions of years ahead of us in evolution and technology. They don't even call it technology. It is a way of life. We call it technology because it is an extension, a tool. For them, it is part of all of them. I mean, they are a part of the technology, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense
no,
to
it
you.
does. It does. Which throws
Yeah.
open another question to me though, because I spoke to a contactee quite a while ago now, and she and I've heard others say the same thing, have been taken in order to pilot crafts. What's going on there? Who's piloting crafts? Is it humans or is it aliens?
It's aliens. They may think that they're pilot. They can give you a vision and let you think you're doing something. They can change the scenery around you. They can be invisible. They can. When I was a little girl, if I was a little nervous or had anxiety, they would take an image from my head that I was comfortable with, and they don't change into the image, but they say my mother had been reading me a story about the Goldilocks or whatever, a Disney story.
Mhm.
So when they appeared to me, what I would see is Goldilocks. And the scenery would be like what I had read in a book. They didn't change into that, but that's what I saw because they wanted me to be comfortable in my environment and they wanted me to feel special. So these people, I think they truly believe that they did the piloting, but I truly believe they cannot, because all of the craft that our governments have been given or whatever they got them, they cannot fly them because they cannot. They are not
They can't do it because
abundant,
they can't, and that's it. Yeah.
but they're not created for that purpose, and they're not. It's a bond. It's just like I'm bonded to the female. It's a bond. Nobody else has that bond. It's just the way it is. But I do know that people think that they've done these things, and that's fine, but
Mm.
there's no way that they're going to let a human being take control of technology that's billions of years beyond anything we know. That's just common
Oh,
sense.
that's fine. It does make sense to me as well. So let's get into the physical appearance. Now, you say the ones are female. Is there any outwardly sign that she is female, or is it they all the same body shape?
To me, they look like the same body shape. Now, the interdimensionals and all those wear clothes. Some grays wear clothes. If she's wearing clothes, it's a very tight fitting, and it's the same color as the rest of her. So I don't really know, but I know that she's female because I sense it. It's a frequency exchange. And for me, the fear that I've experienced, and sometimes I still have to remind myself not to be scared, because it's not what they look like. It is the frequency exchange between us. We are at a lower frequency, and when you feel their frequency, it is an unknown feeling that you've never experienced before. And there's nothing really, the closest thing I could think of to it's kind of a euphoric feeling, but your brain does not really know what this is. So a lot of times it's tweaked in our DNA from being cavemen, where everything was sensed as a predator, and we get that fear or flight feeling. So it's kind of like that. And I have to remind myself, I know what this is. Let's go with the flow, push in and do it.
But when one of these creatures or beings or whatever you want to call them is female versus male,
Yes.
are they their bodies that when you go up to the craft and you see their bodies or whatever, are they then also avatars for their consciousness? So they've created like a, let's just say, a Ford Model T car, right? They're all Ford Model Ts, but each one of them has a different driver in. Yeah, could be female, could be male. Are they
They
that?
are they are physical. I have
They're
touched
actual
their
physical
hands.
creatures.
They're physical. Even the hybrid that comes from me, we hold hands, and I run my fingers through hers and feel the temperature of her body, and I comment on whether she feels cold or whatever, and she doesn't say anything. And they touch me, and I touch their skin, and we hug, we bond, and we do hands like this when we greet. It's physical.
So she or they or who, whatever, they are actual evolved creatures from a
Yes,
planet of such.
yes.
Okay, wow.
And I think they all originally came from certain planets, but I know now that a lot of them live on motherships, and the motherships, that the interdimensionals and the positives, they travel throughout galaxies and universes looking for beings that are on the verge of reaching ascension to bring them into the cosmic realm.
Like the Star Trek Federation, essentially,
Yeah,
for
but
want of a better phrase.
Yeah, no, but it's just like I see stuff all the time on Facebook about the Galactic Federation, this, that, together. I've never met anything like that or know of anything like that. No mention to me. I did go before a group of elders. They were called elders, and they were higher dimensional beings from different races, and they are considered, I guess, a hierarchy, in that realm. But
Okay, so these races of creatures that form the council, right? Do you know from any interactions you've had with whatever or whomever, if the races themselves have names? Have they ever said like, oh, this is Bob species from Dave Planet or whatever? And I'm being facetious with those names, but you understand what I mean.
I have never asked questions like that, and uh, they don't tell. Well, I do know that the interdimensionals, we wouldn't be able to understand the name of the planet, and we would not be able to see it visibly because we're in a 3D world. And I do know that within our own solar system, every planet out there is a conscious living being, and every planet out there has life on it. We just simply can't see it. And I know that our skies are full of activity because we're in a 3D world. They're not hiding from us. We just can't see it. But as we reach higher consciousness, our awareness will open up, and we will start to realize life is going on all around us, and everything is connected. We are all connected, and we are all one. While I was in Mexico, they came for me, and we went outside the cabin that my son and I were staying in, and they took their hands out like this and said, everything is alive. Everything is alive. And they said, trees are living beings and have a consciousness. Plants are living beings. Mushrooms are living beings and have a consciousness. All animals are living beings and have a consciousness. Everything is alive and has a consciousness. Everything is alive and has a consciousness. Everything is connected, and we are all one. So what they were telling me is that just because we can't see something doesn't mean that there's not life going on and communication going on all around us. And they said that our scientists already know that trees and plants communicate to each other. We just don't visibly see it. But so basically, our planet is a conscious living being, and she's going, or she, it, whatever you want to call her, is going through a ascension and a evolutionary change in herself. She is becoming higher consciousness. So this is a very big phenomenal thing, not only for humanity, but for our planet. So, like I said, when they realized that all this was happening, that brought them here, and they are surrounding us and putting vibrational frequencies in of love, of peace, of unity, all these things to help humanity in our awakening.
Here's the thing, though, right? If we're all soul contract beings, does that mean humanity doesn't really exist? Because
humanity exists. We are all energy beings, and we're all here having a human experience. For whatever reason, we all chose to be here at this particular time, and this is pivotal for humanity. And that's why I say we do not need governments to tell us disclosure. We are the disclosure. We chose to be here, and we're all a part of this, and we are all waking up, and we are all a part of disclosure. And as we reach higher consciousness, we will realize we don't need the government to tell us anything. We all will already
oh
know.
god, yeah, I already know that. I don't like governments. Just make your own
Yeah.
mind up and live your life.
And we'll
Oh,
also, this programming, we've been programmed from the minute we were born, given social security numbers and all these things. we will realize that those programmed ways will no longer serve us. We will reach higher conscious and realize things need to change for us. And that's why they are here. They're here not to take over, not to replace anything. We're in charge. We're here on free will. They are only here to assist, not to take over. They are not gods. They are not angels. They are not here to run things. They are simply here to advise us and assist.
Okay, but what I was getting at with my comment wasn't that humanity doesn't exist, because clearly I can see my hands and I can see my girlfriend, when she gets home from work.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is, if we're all souls that are coming into these meat bags, essentially, ultimately that means that humanity doesn't exist, because we are whatever else we are. It's a
True.
fairground ride. We're dodgems, essentially.
We're here having an experience, and it's like I said, there's a lot to it they have not revealed to me. And I wonder, is this just a dream state for wherever I am there?
But this throws
there's a lot. It's an interesting subject, isn't it?
It is, and this is what I've asked this question of another guest before, and I know you can't really give an answer, but I want to throw the question out there anyway. Right? So you chose to come to this planet to have this experience, right? I
Yes.
will have done, and you're saying every single person has done the same. Without beings that choose to come here, what is the Earth? Does that mean would there still be humans if no one's choosing to come?
Okay, well, we all have souls, and we are all here on free will, and we are all here having an experience. So the part that gets tricky for me is what I know where I'm going to go after I leave this vessel, but I don't know everybody else's soul contract. And I do know that a lot of people continually come back, recycle back into the human form. Why? I don't know, if that's just what their soul contract is, or, maybe they just didn't experience all they wanted to experience.
I know, but what I'm getting at is, if you wind it back, right, wind humanity back to when we first evolved, assuming we did, there was one soul, in theory, that would have gone in first, okay? And then the race would have grown from there. So did the souls make the humans to then have the experience? Or were humans here as sort of empty vessels, and then we thought, oh, there's a nice planet we'll go and experience, and then we all took them over? Because if so, that means we're alien invaders.
That's a good question. I should ask that. I know that our DNA was tweaked by not just one extraterrestrial group. A lot of people say the Anunnaki, but it wasn't just the Anunnaki. Then I think the time frames they have that, I think it's not completely wrong, but there's a lot of misinformation. There's probably 32 different groups of extraterrestrial races that our DNA comes from, and they were a combination of a lot of things. And where the soul came into the picture, I think we probably already had one, and I think that it was just our DNA was tweaked. So I don't know everything, but I do know that for whatever reason, the creator source put us here. But there's a lot of indications to me that this is really probably not our true place of coming from, because we're really not suited for certain types of weather. We're really not suited. Even the birth process of children really isn't suited for the gravity that we're in. So it seems like we were seeded here from somewhere else to me. But
From what I've heard and read, seeded from Mars, in theory, because our bodies were on that gravitational basis. From what I've read, I don't know that to be true. But you understand the question I gave. It's almost impossible to answer.
I don't know. I don't know.
What one to
But
ask?
it's interesting. It's very interesting, and that's the thing about this. You'll never know the answer to anything. And the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, because it's just ongoing.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Once you pull one
amazing.
thread, you'll pull the whole jumper apart, but
Yeah, but it's
you've got to pull
amazing
on
to
a thread to
me.
begin with.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah.
So, abductions, or
Okay.
you might call them contact. Are they checkups then for you? Is that all they are?
Absolutely. The one race or different races that really had no empathy and did their own genetic testing and research for whatever in various reasons. Um, those are real. Those happen. I was not a part of any of that. I do think that even the government did some abductions that and work with like some of the extraterrestrials and did their own type of research. I don't know this for a fact, but I do know that when I was living in Australia, I was living up in an isolated area on a mountain called Mount Mee, and it was in Queensland, Australia. And it was a different, I felt a presence, but it wasn't the same frequency as my bonded grays that come from me. This was different. And they took me aboard craft. And when I got on craft, I was on like a gurney or a bed like thing. And there were human females and there were grays. And they were like running around in like a hustle mode saying, take her back, get her out of here. She's not supposed to be here. And next thing I know, I'm back home, waking up going, what the world? So by foot, I was a pretty good ways from Pine Gap, but by air, I was in a pristine area where a craft or even whatever could have come and easily got me. But they realized once I got on craft, probably from the other extraterrestrials, said, you better take her back. She's a higher frequency than a normal human.
Yeah, which I understand. But
So I know these things are real and these things have happened,
oh, I agree with you from based on many people I've listened to and
but
spoken
that's
to,
not the beings that are here now to assist and help us.
the ones helping you. Now, the ones that take you, do they do any physical experience testing on you like you would see in the, in all the lore and that? Are they doing that stuff, or are they just checking you like by looking in your eyes or whatever?
No, they do physicals, they do exams, and I think they like to do that on everybody. They want to know the evolutionary state. They want to know our consciousness level. You know, how are we evolving? For the various group that did what they were doing their own agenda, you know, self-serving, and had nothing to do with anything that was good for humanity. And the government, for whatever reason, made an agreement with them and trade for technology. But I think they even overstepped what the government thought they were going to do. So they do not trust those extraterrestrials anymore. So I think that's why there's a lot of reluctance for our government to really know who to trust when it comes to these kind of things.
But
And
your
why.
lot though, the ones that take you and you go and connect and all that stuff. What do they physically do to you when you're there? What is the describe an interaction essentially? Let's go with
Okay.
that.
Okay. I'm there. We greet. Either I am there to learn something and they'll tell me get to work or whatever. Or if I'm having an exam, um, their exams is not like what people say. There is no probing or the needle coming down in the eye or anything like that. Um, they have scans. They can scan and know exactly what your ailments are. And I've had different type of surgeries. And one surgery that I had from them was, this is very bizarre. This was interdimensionals, and I was laying on a table, and it had other people around. And then the physician came in, and he was a very strange looking. He was more extraterrestrial looking than human. He had a few human features, but not really. He was more of a etheric looking creature. And he was at the foot of the bed I was in, and he literally told me to be still, and his essence basically went into my body, and he was moving around and checking me out and fixing things, and he was working on my kidneys. And when I would like start to talk or basically talk, he would telepathically tell me, do not talk, do not move, I'm fixing your kidney. So our perceptions of what has happened in these so-called exams is not true. They are billions of years ahead, and the way that they do things, there is no human comparison as to how things are done. So that is the fear in people that are coming out and talking about probing or the needle coming down in the eye. There are no things like that.
So that time that Dr. One fixed your kidneys, did you have any ailments prior to that experience where you thought, oh, there is something wrong with my kidneys?
Most of the time, I'm unaware that I'm even sick unless I start running fever. I was doing a podcast about 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And in the podcast I was doing, it was live on Facebook, and it was also live on YouTube. And I kept hearing them. It was like they were coming into the feed. I could hear them making like this, it was a clicking sound, kind of like the sound. I could hear this, and and I was like, what are they doing? And I knew that they were like involved or whatever reason. And so basically I started feeling bad, really bad, and feeling like I was having a fever, and they kept on and on. And immediately when I ended the podcast, telepathically, they told me to go to the hospital. And I went, and I thought that I was getting the flu or that I had COVID, but turns out I was septic. I was septic, and I had to be put on immediately hospitalized and put on IV sedations because my body was septic, and I had a horrible, horrible urinary or bladder infection, and I was running a very, very high fever. And they wanted me to end the podcast and go to the emergency room. And they were just like, and then telling me. And so I gathered up my things and went to the emergency room, and I was in the hospital for 4 days.
What was the point of the clicking? If they
That
talk
is their
telepathically,
way,
what's that about?
that is their technology, and it was their way of getting my attention because I was doing the podcast, not paying attention to the messages they were giving me. I was trying to stay focused. So they were interrupting and drawing my attention. So immediately when I stopped, I listened to them, and they were like, go to the emergency room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Weird, isn't it? Now, you've lived in USA,
Yes.
Australia, Hawaii, and New Zealand.
Yes.
You say your experiences are constant, irrespective of location.
Yeah.
So that throws open the question: A, do you have an implant? Or B, if not, how are they finding you? Is it via just consciousness field that you're sort of sending out? What do you know on that?
I think I probably had a implant at one time when I was young. I don't know that for a fact, but it was on the inside of my right side on the inside, and it's indention now. And
Where was it? Sorry.
on my inside of my ankle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I do know that every time when I was younger, when they would come and I would sense their presence and look at them, they were always messing around with my feet. So I think that's probably why. But as I've gotten older, I don't have that anymore. I think now, and they don't have to do the vibrational scan up and down. I now am at peace with what all's happening to me, and I have an understanding. And they gave me 2 years ago, somewhere around there, a Kundalini awakening, which opened my subconscious up into my human consciousness. And that just really put all the pieces together and gave me more insight and knowledge on who I am, why I'm here, and what this all means.
Here's a
So,
question for you. Sorry,
yes,
sorry to interject. All of what you've answered today via some of the questions I've given you and some of the stuff you've volunteered, is all that information stuff you're picking from your subconscious and from those experiences? Or are you also supplementing with things you've researched or found?
no, these are all from me, from
Okay.
my experiences and what they want me to know and what they want me to say.
And you said earlier that your mission, so to speak, is to spread the reasoning behind these events.
Yes,
To
yes.
what end? You say to raise consciousness.
The goal is for us to raise our consciousness and to become better human beings, to outgrow the programming, to outgrow negativity, to learn to be a more positive human being, to
And boy,
learn
do we
to
need that.
treat, yes, and learn to treat our bodies better, learn that we are connected not only to each other, but we are connected to every living thing, creature, plant, being, everything, water, air, everything on our planet. And we are also connected to the universe, the cosmic realm, and all extraterrestrials and interdimensionals. We are all one and we are all connected. And as above, so below. And whatever we do affects and ripples out into the universe. So if we play with nuclear weapons, not only does it disrupt the balance of nature, the balance of our earth, but it also ripples out into the universe and affects extraterrestrials and interdimensionals. So what we do, we are all connected and we are all one. So we need to accept we are not alone in the universe, accept we are all connected and we are all one. And what we do affects all.
Two things here. You reminded me something halfway through you talking there about a question I forgot. So I'll bring that up in a sec. But you said we're at a pivotal moment in human history, and when you've chosen to come here at a pivotal
Yes.
moment in history, how far along are we on this pivotal moment scale? Do you
We
know?
are moving rapidly. Things are speeding up. More people are waking up. More people are reaching higher consciousness. For me, this is not a individual country thing. This is a worldwide phenomenon. This is for all of humanity. So they want me to reach out to humanity, reach out to the world, because this is not about me. This is not about the United States. This is not about any particular individuals. This is a worldwide phenomenon. And we are all one, we are all connected, and we need to come together in unity. And when we finally do, there is no stopping us. And we are unique and wonderful and have so much to give to the cosmic realm. And our futures are going to be better. And we are going to be the stepping stones that go down in history that has made a change for future generations of humans.
I agree. I don't genuinely think it's going to happen in my lifetime, your lifetime,
I
or
don't know
lifetime
how
here.
long it will take, but I do know it is happening and it is going to happen. It will
Oh, it
happen.
will happen because I think everything's
Yeah.
heading in the right direction
And
towards that epiphany point.
we are the ones working towards it and the stepping stones, I guess. And
I
I
agree.
hope it does happen in our lifetime, but I don't know.
I don't think it will, and here's why I tell you it won't.
See, that's
Um,
negative.
it's negative, but it's also with a healthy dose of realism, which I like to flounder on. If you think about the countries out there, let's call them third world countries, call them whatever you will, but that
Right.
we are connected now via the internet. Yeah,
Mhm.
we've got spare moments in our life where we're not working because we've got enough money we can live, where we can
Yeah.
actually then train minds and do this sort of thing. But
Yes.
the people who live in countries where they don't have internet, they don't have computers, they have to grind at the rock face literally for hours on
Mhm.
end. How can they raise their consciousness? And now we're talking millions of
Some
people
of
to
them
do that.
already are. It's just like them sending me to see this indigenous tribe. Those people know their connection with nature, know their connection with the universe. See, that's the thing. We all knew these things at one point in our evolution, but we've lost it due to all this programming. So when you say third world countries, a lot of those, not all are pleasant, but some of them already know that these, already have a connection with nature and things. So sometimes just because of it being in a third world doesn't mean that it's not necessarily wrong, or that there's something they don't know.
Oh, I get you, but the ones what I'm getting at is the ones that don't
Yeah,
have
but there are
time to
some.
think about it. There's
Yes.
loads of
And
people
that's
like that.
because they are being manipulated and dominated and controlled by certain fractions.
Yeah, for money.
So
Yeah.
yes, it's all about greed and money. So as we speak out, and hopefully it will make other people wake up, because I'm not the only one here that has incarnated to do this, and hopefully they'll hear me and it will bring more people out. And really and truly, I know for a fact that if we all try to be more positive, instead, whenever you have a negative thought, replace it by two positive and try to be a more positive person, it will literally raise your frequency. When you raise your frequency, it feels good. When you feel good and you're radiating positive frequency, it expels all around you. Everyone around you notices it, and they want to feel like that too. It radiates, and it's like a virus, it grows. And so by you and I doing this right now, we're reaching people, and we're making an impact on their decisions and opening their mind up to maybe looking at certain things and understanding that the world around us is changing. And it's time for us to change and get out of the old program. Those things no longer serve us. And we need new ways of thinking and new ways of being a human being. And pay less attention to the news, pay less attention to certain things on television, because those are all programmed to intentionally keep us dumbed down and keep us in fear and to keep us in a negative frame of mind. All this is done intentionally. We have to break these programmings and modes and change our world and the world around us. In a lot of ways, we do create our reality around us. And one way of doing that is becoming more positive and refusing to let these negative influence run our lives and run our emotional feelings.
I agree. I mean, that's all part of what I would call a self-awakening anyway, is that you
Yeah.
realize that the crap on TV is all propaganda. You turn it off because you can actually see through the lies, right? And then
Yeah.
you naturally, by turning off the negativity from the TV, get into positivity anyway, because that's
You already, and
where
you
it
automatically
naturally
feel better.
positive.
Yeah.
Correcto. Now, the question I had earlier, which is kind of
Sure.
funny, and it may sound like I'm being an arse when I say it, but I'm
No,
not.
I don't mind.
My intentions are pure with this. We've made soul contracts to come here, right? Does that mean that the trees, the plants, they have their own version of soul contracts if they are
They
living
are
beings?
conscious beings. Their consciousness is not like a human's, but it is a consciousness. And yes, I'm sure they do, because from what I understand, what they told me is I could choose to be a dolphin, I could choose to be a plant. It's not exactly the same consciousness, but it is an experience. So, yeah,
So I could literally choose to come back as a tree,
yes,
should I want to.
right. Yeah.
Are we also of the school of thought that our souls are split? So I could be experiencing 20, 30, 40, 50, 1,000, a million, whatever lifetimes all at once. And via that thought, could I also be trees right now?
That I do not know. I do know, I know, see, again, there's a lot I don't know. Like, I wonder if I'm here having this experience as a human, but am I also in a sleep mode, having a dream in a sleep stasis, so to speak, in my extraterrestrial interdimensional body? and we're doing this at the same time. And I do know that there is no such thing as time for extraterrestrials and interdimensionals. Time is a man-made thing. For them, everything happens at once. So our thinking has got us in a programmed way of understand, or there's a lot of things we don't understand because we are programmed to think a certain way. So when you say it like you're saying it and knowing that there is no time, that is very much possible.
Yeah, it's a mind bender to put your head around that one.
Yes.
I had a long
Mhm.
conversation with a lady who do past life and future life regressions.
Yes,
We touched that topic. It's a mind bender.
it
Um,
is. It's
yeah,
interesting.
very much so. Now, here's a personal question for you. Are you enjoying the Nancy Thames experience, or do you prefer the other experience? Which is your favorite of the two?
My soul, my whole being was in a struggle. I very, very, because having basically a extraterrestrial or interdimensional experiencer and then having a human life it's a very hard thing to balance. I've been through 2 divorces. Uh, you know, when I got to my 50s, I decided to do the website and I decided to put my foot into the pond and start being who I am. And I started asking for my inner self to come forward to my human self and start helping me to understand these things. And that's when I got the Kundalini awakening. And when that happened, that answered my questions. And I finally know who I am, not the Nancy Thames the world around me has designed, that Nancy, but the real Nancy, the one that knows who she is, my purpose here on earth, what my gifts are, what's really important, the real me. And I am the happiest I've ever been in my whole life because I know who I am and I have an understanding and appreciation of the human experience. Before, I would say 20 years ago, I would have said, this sucks. This is not fun. Life's not fair, blah, blah, blah. And being a human is not an easy experience. It's not a bed of roses. I mean, we experience so many different things, good and bad, and it's very hard. Um, and so I am so proud to know who I am and to finally be able to, with pride, say who I am and what I'm here to do and what I see for the future of humanity and how beautiful and wonderful it's going to be. And I'm so proud to be alive at this particular time. And I think we should all be proud to be here at this time. We are all the disclosure. I truly believe that.
I agree with you. I want to ask a question about your your disclosure of your true self. Let's just call it that. To your family and your wider circle of friends and that. How did it go down?
Oh, my family, they would say, we wish you wouldn't have made that website. We wish you wouldn't. So I did it, but I made a separate Facebook group and a separate thing, and I didn't invite any of them to be a part of it except for my children. And so they have a right to feel like they feel. Not everybody is on the same evolutionary or spiritual path and ready to grasp these things. And so I don't push it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. So I give them enough information so when they're ready, I'm here, I'm available.
But there's not been
But,
any like negatives towards you from their perspectives, or has there?
well, I let it be known that I am who I am, and this is what I'm comfortable with doing. And if you like it, wonderful. If you don't, I'm sorry, but this is who I am and what I'm going to do.
That's it. If you don't like the program, turn the TV over. It's that simple.
Exactly.
That's what I always
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the physicality of the beings because I have a number of questions written down regarding that.
Sure.
So let's just take your female associate. Explain how tall, how wide, colors, smells, everything about that creature.
Yes. She is between 4 and 5 foot, and she is reddish brown. She doesn't appear to wear any clothes or anything like that. She's just, if she is wearing something, it's very tight, and I really don't think she is, to be honest, because I've touched her all through here, and she feels like a dolphin. So, um, and she feels cold, you know. She feels, I feel warm, but where the last time I saw her was when I was in Mexico, and it was very, very cold up in the mountains. So that could have been why she felt so cold. But so the other beings, they feel kind of like a dolphin as well. And they the interdimensionals are very tall, 7 to 8 foot, and they have human-like features, but they are definitely not human. And their skin is more whitish looking.
Okay,
So
well,
they could very
back to your
well,
lady friend though.
yeah,
How many digits on each hand? Have you got feet and discernible toes?
yes, they do. I did not count toes. Her hands, she has 4 fingers.
Any digits longer than the others, or are they just
They're all
similar to
long.
ours?
Yeah, I just would sit there and run my fingers through hers to feel them. And they're long, but I mean, they're longer than ours, but not ridiculously long.
And do they have nails like us?
No,
No nails. That's weird.
yeah,
Facial wise, are we talking nose, eyes, all the good stuff? Do you have facial hair?
no facial hair. They have eyes and a slit like for a nose and mouth. I know that, for example, grays, they do not, the way that they ingest nutrients, they make a paste of nutrients and they rub it into their skin, and their skin absorbs the nutrients and they excrete that way. That's how they would eliminate whatever.
Hmm.
And for them, even for interdimensionals, our fascination with food is, for them, it's more like it is a nutrient. It's not a pleasure type thing. Like we focus on gourmet, we focus on,
Crispy bacon. Yeah.
absorbent. For them, it's all about nutrition. They don't eat as many meals as we do. They don't sleep as long as we do. And they only, and they're vegetarian. They don't, food is not a pleasurable, it's a nutrient, a source of energy, and it's not considered a glorious type thing like we do.
Okay, and their heads, are we talking alien grey, large heads, thin neck? Is it that sort of thing?
Different grays look different. The 3 grays that I saw that came to visit my children when they were very young, I woke up and there were 3 appeared in a Marriott hotel. We were at Key West in Florida on a family vacation, and my ex-husband and I were in one bed, and the 3 boys were in one bed. My 2 boys and one stepson, and they were 3 foot tall, and they were gray, and they were wearing robes with very high collars. And when I raised up in the bed and looked at them, one approached me, took his hand and pushed me on this left-hand side down, and telepathically said, "This is not about you." And then after I was down, they all 3 went over towards the boys. And at that point, I realized they're here for my 2 children. And I went through a panicky, fearful feeling, and they put me in a sleep paralysis. I could not speak, I could not move, but I could see them getting my children up and then walking them and leaving with them. And then I went to sleep, or either they blacked me out. And the next morning when we woke up, we all went to breakfast, and I asked my children if they had any unusual dreams or anything they'd like to share or talk about. And no, they did not. So I didn't say anything else to them, because they were, when we woke up, I looked over, they were perfectly comfortable in their beds. And I discussed it with my ex-husband. He just said, well, that was a crazy dream. And I was like, it wasn't a dream. And he was like, it was a dream. So again, unfortunately, we don't all have relationships, or our family does not understand that these things are happening to us. So it can create a lot of problems. It's not an easy thing for a human to go through and experience and maintain a healthy relationship with a spouse, or even your parents or brothers and sisters or friends, because they don't understand it. And they don't want to understand it.
But that's also throws open the weirdness then about the soul contract, isn't it? Because that means that you have signed up to go through that experience of knowing and understanding. And conversely, it also means that the people that don't understand, or, whatever, have also signed up to think that way, presumably.
Yeah. Yeah. They're on a different soul path, so that's why, you have to wait for people to reach their level of understanding, reach their awareness, their spiritual awareness and stuff. So that's the thing. And here's another thing. A lot of people say, well, I don't think my family's going to make it. We're not going to leave anybody behind. That's not how the universe works. Part of us is not going to get in this arc that a lot of people talk about and leave a lot of people back. I don't believe that. I don't think that's the case. I think eventually we will all wake up. It's just not going to happen all at once, and it's at different levels. But we are all one. We are all connected, and it will eventually happen. We just have to be patient.
That's why I say it's going to be a long time, because there's no way all the billions of people in the world will all wake up at the same time. What do they smell like? Because obviously you've mentioned about this paste thing. Have you seen them put this paste on their skin?
No. They explained it to me.
Oh, okay. So what do they smell like in their natural state?
They don't smell to me. And when I get on craft, there are no smells, and the lighting is beautiful and perfect. But you'll never be able to find where the source of light is coming from. It's just there everywhere, and it's perfect. And there are no smells, and everything is sterile. And to me, everything is very bright light and natural light, kind of light, but you don't know where it's coming from. And everything looks white. Everything in the craft looks white to me.
Right, you've thrown open another thought in my head, and I'm going to apologize right up front for saying this, but you understand where I'm probably going to go with this. Obviously, we are physical creatures. Are you still there, by the way? Because you've just disappeared. Oh, there you are.
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
It's your background. It keeps putting you behind the earth. We are physical creatures, right? And that means we are subject to biological movements X, Y, and Z. So, have you ever farted while you're up there? And also, have you ever needed the toilet? And if so, that means there must be toilet facilities, or do they take you back when you need that?
I consciously try to go to the bathroom before I go to bed, and I meditate and talk to them. And if I wake up and feel like maybe something's fixing to happen, I go to the bathroom. I do know they have accommodations for that type thing. As far as like remembering or thinking or consciously about a fart, I don't recall anything like that.
Yeah.
But I do know that they have areas where humans can go to the restroom if need be.
I was going to say, yeah, you kind of had to have it, because you know that as part of the fight or flight physical reaction of human beings, that, relieving yourself is part of it.
Yeah,
because it's
and I'm
getting
sure
rid of
a lot
extra
of
weight to
people
run away. Yeah, they would.
Yeah,
wouldn't
I'm sure a lot of people, it happens in
Yeah.
their the sole of their clothes and things like that. But an interesting thing that happened to me last night, and I still don't understand it all. I woke up, felt their presence, but it was like, now I think it was the end of a visitation, and I don't recall the visitation, but my gown was on backwards. So the reason, and they did that intentionally, is because they wanted me to know that it had happened, but why they didn't consciously want me to remember it, I do not know.
Do you think that's the reason why other people have also reported clothes being on back to front?
Yeah,
It's just a calling
they
card.
know that they're doing that. And there's things they do intentionally because they want you to know. Because I know for a fact that my gown was on, when I first put my gown on, I had the neck on turned the wrong way and it felt tight. So I flipped it around and I felt the inside label of my gown. I felt it and touched it. So I know that I had it on properly. I made a point to make sure it was on properly because of the neck. But then when I woke up, when I went to the restroom, and I felt the energy, the frequency, but that was the end of the visit, and I was still feeling it. And I woke up, and then I went to the restroom, and I saw that my gown was on inside out. So, I'll never understand everything that totally goes on. I know that there's a lot of events going on. We're fixing to have this eclipse. I don't know exactly what all that means and stuff. You know, I don't know, but for whatever reason, I don't know, they might have been doing some surgical procedures on me or whatever, or they may have not had a lot of time to spend with my questioning, and because I do ask a lot of questions and things, and maybe they just needed to do what they needed to do and didn't need my human questioning, and that's why they did it. But they also wanted me to know that they did come by letting me wake up and feel the frequency still, and by knowing that my gown was inside out.
Okay, so let's also thank you for that, by the way. Are they teaching you anything besides the awakening of Earth and the population? What are they teaching you? Skills? What are they teaching you?
They've taught me to be a listener. They've taught me to be a better person. They've taught me to appreciate being a human being. They've taught me to appreciate our planet and everything on it, and to look at things with empathy. They've taught me empathy, to not be judgmental and not judge a book by its cover. That every person that is demonstrating an action, there's something that's making them do this. There's a root to it, just like alcoholism or drug addiction or all these different things. There is a root that created these actions and problems. And so I think that we need to understand that there are reasons why people fall into certain patterns, and we need to address those areas. So they help me to understand humans, and why we do some of the things that we do, and not to quickly judge people, because we don't always know the whole story. But as far as like, I think that, they, through them telling me things, I know when to be extra cautious. Uh, like when I'm driving, I know, if they're telling me that, or if that's just my intuition that they've heightened that awareness in me, I don't know. I
All
don't
right,
know.
let's parse something out here, a thought experiment, if you will. If you were not going through these experiences with your contacts, all the stuff that you mentioned that they taught you, would you have learnt that anyway through experience of just being human? How to like deal with people and
No,
understand intent and stuff.
no. I would have been a self-centered, materialistic, probably thought I was better. Probably
Really?
thought I was better. Yeah, because um I had a lot of wealth at one time, and I thought I could buy love. I thought I could buy my way into anything. And through my experiences, complete turnaround, I gave away a lot of my materialistic things, and tried to understand that it's the time that I give people is far more important than any gift I could give them. But they've helped me with these things, because I was living in a home that was 10,000 square feet. Huge, huge home, driving fancy vehicles, and not just having one, having two or three of my own. And, spending just oodles amount of money on things. But I realized when we all die, and when we all go to the bathroom, we all are the same beings. Nothing makes anybody any better or any more wondrous. We're all energy beings here having an experience. And my perception of why we're here and what we do, by focusing in on materialistic things and all that, you're missing out on so much. For me, it was causing me to miss out of a lot of personal interactions with my children, personal interactions with the rest of my family, and realizing some of the simple things in life are just as valuable and worth more than anything you could buy.
I agree. So you were living the female Scrooge life.
Yeah,
Is that what it was ultimately?
basically, yeah.
And you honestly think you would not have come to the epiphany yourself? You needed that intervention from interdimensional beings to change.
Yes.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's brave
I
of you to
needed,
say that, but well done.
yeah, I mean, I had to follow my ass and hit rock bottom and then pull myself back up. And
Yeah.
now my outlook and picture on things is totally different. Yeah.
I agree, by the way. Me and Tiff, my girlfriend, we say this quite a lot, is that money is just a spending token for here. You can't take it with you. It means nothing ultimately. I know you have to have it to help you live, yeah, the
Yes.
realities
Yeah.
of that. But
Yeah.
realistically, beyond that, it means nothing. Because
That's true.
the real
And
value is,
nobody
yeah,
remembers those things.
no, they don't. I don't care. Forget about it, people. If you're watching, money's irrelevant. It's actually relationships and interactions that are more important.
That's
Um,
true.
Very much so. Since having these experiences, right, have you gained any abilities, such as now being psychic or anything like that?
I don't claim to have any abilities. If I do, I don't. I certainly am not going to run around bragging about anything like that, because they would not want me to do that, and I don't have any desire to do that. I am who I am. I've experienced what I've experienced, and I only want to tell the truth, and it's all heartfelt and from personal experiences. And I'm not here trying to sell anything. I'm not here trying to make a lot of money or anything like that. I even said that I wouldn't write a book because I didn't want to make money of it. But then I realized nobody's ever become a millionaire writing a book.
No, it doesn't work. I wrote a book
So
not long back. They don't make money.
yeah, so I've decided I am writing a book, and my goal is to put it in different languages, because my goal, my philosophy is to reach humanity. I don't care about if people in this town where I live know who I am or not. I want to reach humanity. I want to reach the people that want to wake up. I want to help the people that want to, and then they will follow my footsteps and get others. So, if they've given me anything, I don't know. I'm always going to be Nancy Thames. I'm always going to be who I am. And I feel thankful for who I am today. And they have got me to this point. And I just want to serve and do my purpose, my mission here on earth. And I'm happier than I've ever been in my whole life.
Well, good on you for that. And I know I shouldn't really go back to this, but I'm going to anyway because
I don't mind.
the thought crossed my mind, so I'm going to ask the question. Back in your days where you had a shitload of money, excuse the
Mhm.
French, um, did you ever spend so frivolously on something? And if so, what was the one thing you bought you thought, I don't need it, but I'm buying it?
Used to spend tons of money on vehicles, tons of money on perfumes, tons of money on jewelry. I have all kinds of beautiful jewelry, and I gave it all away to my daughters-in-laws because I wanted them to enjoy it while they were young. Um, they thought that I had a dying disease or something. Why would you give all this away? Watches, Rolexes, all these things, I gave them all away. And I don't wear, you can see, I
No
don't wear
jewelry. Yeah.
anything because I realized that people looked at me and would like make comments about my jewelry and things. And so they weren't seeing the real me. That's not the real me. And I
Yes, they're
want people
seeing
to
the
see
trinkets, aren't
me.
they? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I want them to see me for me, the real me. Listen to me, not look at me.
Yes,
You
because
know,
you are richer than the riches you wore. That's the point, isn't it?
yes, exactly.
Excellent. Sorry for
So
going back there, by the way, but
no,
I can't
no,
leave a
I mean
thread
that's
unpulled.
that's part of this history of who I am and who I've become is walking away from those kind of things.
Hmm.
Um,
I can't get past that. That's amazing. Well done. Um, Now you obviously mentioned this in your family because you said your children got have been taken before. Have you investigated your blood type in the link there?
I'm A positive, and I don't think blood types have anything to do with it.
Okay.
I do know that my children are experiencers. I am experiencers. My sister has had experiences, but she didn't want to take it further. And they don't pressure you. You can take this as far as you want it. They're not going to push you into this. And she, you know, never wrote a book. She never got out and did podcasts or anything, and she's comfortable with that. And I know for a fact one of my parents is an experiencer, and they just didn't want to take it any further. And they really don't like to talk about it, but I know they indicated to my son and I which parent it is, and that parent will be coming back to Earth at some point and will work on the mission again.
Wow, it's
Yeah.
a mind bender. Um,
Yeah.
you obviously mentioned your experiences going on to this day. Um,
Yes.
After all these years of these experiences, what are your conclusions? And obviously they've told you things, but have you put any of your own thoughts into understanding the whole thing?
Humans are unique. Humans are wonderful. Our lives can be so much better with the right guidance and with the right mentality. We need a new way of thinking and a new way of living, and using AI technology to where it would benefit all of humanity, not just a select few elites, not just certain governments, but it needs to be where it benefits everyone. And if we can all work in unity and realize we're all connected and put it out there to where it betters our life and changes the way that we choose our occupations, the way that we live our lives. In other words, we should be able to choose things that we enjoy and love doing, not based on the value of that it pays, but based on the value and quality that it gives our lives. And so I think that if we can all work in unison, and learn to share and give and let us stay in charge of AI, because it is a man-made tool and we have an intelligence and we need to maintain our intelligence over it, but use it to better the betterment. Our lives could be dramatically better. There would be no poverty. There would be no diseases. And I truly believe that everything we ever needed was a plant, a tree, anything. There were things, everything we ever needed to survive on this planet was put here. And either it's being set on and hid from us, suppressed from humanity, or maybe they haven't found it yet. I think it's probably more set on because they can't make money off of healthy people. So, but once we realize all these things and we change all this programming and implement these things, we're going to live longer. We're going to be happier human beings, and we'll enjoy being young. We'll enjoy being middle age, enjoy being a senior, and take all those burdens away of money should not be controlling our lives. We shouldn't have to be working 2 or 3 jobs. Women shouldn't be having to raise other people's children and not even getting to raise their own. So many things need to change, and, being better to our environment, our earth. And as we're better to earth and our environment, it will be better to us. It will reward us. And for me, I was riding through an Amish community here in Mississippi, and I had just gone to a mental health group and was talking to the therapist about how they should start becoming aware of experiencers, contactees, abductees, and understanding that we're going through a disclosure. And as we do, more people are going to start to wake up, and more things are going to come to mind, and they may remember things. And a lot of people also, their programming of how they thought their life was, or their reality, is about to be crushed. And mental health professionals need to be prepared to work with humanity, to have things available for them, group meetings, or places where they can seek information, people they can talk to, because they may not have the family members at home to talk to. And as I was leaving and riding through this Amish community on my way back to my home, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what have I done? These people could get together and put me in a crazy house. And I was like, I hope I did the right thing. And I was like, oh, did I do the right thing? And then all of a sudden, telepathically, the interdimensionals and the extraterrestrials told me, look to your left. And I looked over to the left, and out in the middle of a vegetable field, there was a craft sitting there for me to see. They put it there for me to see, and that was the indication to me that they were happy with what I had done. They care about humanity. They care about what disclosure is going to do, how it's going to make people feel, how they're going to realize that everything they've lived in all their life, things are going to change. And they wanted me to know that that was the proper thing to do, is be concerned about humanity and how they're going to accept all these changes in their life. And so I looked over and saw that craft.
You could be concerned about it, though, but you can do nothing about it, I suppose, in a way. You can do some things because you can disseminate information. But if somebody like over there decides to not believe anything you say, or just be an arse, you have no power over them to.
That's true, but disclosure is going to happen. Disclosure is happening, and people will realize their cookie is going to crumble. And a lot of people are going to have mental health issues due to this, I think. And I think we all need to be ready and prepared to help them. And our there's an organization on Facebook called UAP Medical Coalition, and it is getting mental health therapists and physicians, seeking them to come together and start learning and educating themselves. And then there's another group called OPUS, capital OPUS, and they are a support system for experiencers on all levels, including paranormal, to a place for people to have an outlet to communicate and find solace with other people, to talk about their experiences, and also place to find, they'll help you find mental health or group meetings in your areas or the closest ones to you, to help you get through these different stages of disclosure, because it's happening and we need to all be ready.
Damn straight. I contacted, I think, Les Velez from Opus.
Les, that's exactly who I talked to. Yes.
Yeah, because I want to get him on the program.
I think that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, it's a side conversation. And by the way, earlier I said, had you come back with any skills? Now you've obviously mastered the art of invisibility because your green screen keeps making you disappear.
Oh,
There
I'm
you, there you
sorry.
are.
I'm leaning back. I'm leaning back in the seat. I
That's
apologize.
okay. It doesn't matter.
I'm just
It's
getting
just a
comfortable
joke.
and relaxed. I
I know.
apologize.
No. Don't apologize. Final question before we move on to just the closing parts and some other topics. What have you learned about yourself and your place in the world stroke universe, as a result of coming to terms with the reality that you presented with?
I realize that it is a gift that I was given an opportunity to come here and do this. And I'm very happy with it. For a long time, I was not, but I finally understand. And I do feel blessed and to have the opportunity. And I enjoy it. I enjoy talking about this. I enjoy reaching out to people and sharing information and helping them to understand their purposes. And I want people to ask their inner self to open into their human consciousness and for them to maybe find their inner self, because there's so much peace in that. It's amazing. You become a much happier, more relaxed human being, and you realize that all this things running around you, that they haven't figured it out yet. And but we can't push them. We just have to sit back and be patient and let it all fall into place.
I agree with that sentiment. That's a nice one to end that piece on. But I have one final supplemental question I have to now ask. Knowing what you know, right? The world is what we see in front of us, but you've got all these connections to these other realms and God knows what else. Are you happy with how that is, or would you
Yes.
prefer it that it was like the Earth, there's nothing else, we exist, and then there's that little bubble of existence? What would you prefer?
I realize that I'm here having a human experience, and I realize that the time that I have left, I want it to be the good, positive, and get the most out of the experiences. And I realized before I got to this point how much of life I was missing out on, and how the programming made me not enjoy these things. And now I'm enjoying every aspect. I enjoy everything, you know. Things that didn't matter before matter now. Things mean things to me that before I would have laughed at. Everything is important. Everything is an opportunity. Every day is an experience, good or bad. Even I can see the good in a negative thing that happens. It's all a perspective on how you look at it. And if you have the right perspective, it changes everything. It changes everything. And it makes your life here a lot more enjoyable.
I agree, but I have to ask one further question just for clarity. I do apologize, but what I'm getting at is knowing that we are more than the Earth. Let's just call it that. That's
Yes.
the best way of saying it. Are you happy with that reality versus where like a normal person might just be living in the Earth experience, and then that is the reality to them? What would you rather it be?
I like knowing
So you like the knowing that there's
because,
a bigger realm, yeah?
yes, because I always had questions in my mind and I didn't understand. I knew I didn't belong here, so to speak. I knew that I was different. I knew, for somebody that doesn't have those thoughts, it's probably quite different for them. I haven't experienced that, but I've always known since I was little that this was not my true home. Yeah.
Right, and
But
we'll end
I'm,
on that
but
profound
now that I
statement.
know, now that
Yeah.
I know, I can just enjoy the experience day by day and just enjoy it and see the beauty in it.
Because you now know it's a ride, and you
Yeah.
know at the end of the day you're going to get off that ride, and there's
And
no.
I understand everything happens for a reason, and we may not totally understand, but that's just part of it.
Indeed. Right, we're going to move slightly adjacent. So ghosts, to your knowledge, how do they play into the wider scheme of things?
I have seen a ghost. When I lived at Fort Benning, Georgia, I lived close to a Confederate cemetery. And one night I was sitting out on my back porch. It had just gotten dark, and I was sitting out there with a dog, my German Shepherd. And all of a sudden, this Confederate soldier started walking across my backyard, and he had a pail swinging, like a little bucket, lunch pail maybe, and he had a gun thrown over his shoulder with the sword. I guess it's a bayonet or whatever. I don't really know. And he was just marching along all by himself, trucking along, and it did not scare me. And my dog did not scare the dog. The dog did not bark. The dog
Did the dog see it?
I don't know. I mean, I did, so I figure he did. I mean, he saw it probably like I did. To me, it was an energy being, and it was more grayish white looking. It wasn't in color. It was more grayish white looking. And the soldier, it was a male. He never looked at me, never acknowledged me. And I just watched him and followed him along. And then when he got past my backyard, I stood up and walked out in the yard to see how far I could see. And he just eventually disappeared.
That's amazing, isn't
So
it?
I know that it's real. What they are, I know that I don't know if they're a spirit or if they're a tear in timelines. I don't quite know all that. I know that they're real. I've never done, I really don't know a lot about it, but I do know that they're real. And I've also seen a Bigfoot, so.
Well, funnily enough, that was my next question. But before we get there, your ghost that you saw, did you see its feet? Or was it ankle and therefore like the ground had gotten higher over time sort of thing?
It was walking on the ground.
But you could see its feet though?
Yeah. It was like, it was trucking along, yeah.
Cool. All right, let's branch into Bigfoot then. You've just said you've seen a Bigfoot, so go.
Okay. This happened when I was in high school, and I was canoeing on the Duck River. I think it was the Duck River, below Tim's Ford Dam in Winchester, Tennessee. And I was with my father and my sister. I was in the front, my father was in the back steering, and my sister was in the middle. And it was about dusk, the day was about ending, and we were coming close to the end of our canoe trip. And all of a sudden, we could hear all this commotion and noise, large splashing and stuff. And we could smell this very loud, pungent animal dog smell, like wet hair smell, terrible, terrible smell, very loud. And my father, I turned and looked around at my father, and he said, don't say a word. Put your paddles in the canoe. Just let the current take us. And so we went in, and as we got around the bend, we could see a creature, and he was startled by us. I guess he was either fishing or either bathing or whatever, and we disrupted his time. And he was, doing everything, trying to get out of there super fast. And it was like the splashes were so big, it was even kind of hard to see perfectly everything about him. The smell was very distinct, but we could see him splashing, and he was getting out of there quickly.
Okay, so your dad, when he went, shh, put your paddle down, was he doing that because he thought it was potentially a bear? Or had he thought
No, he didn't think it. I don't think he thought it was a bear, but he didn't want. I think he kind of knew what it was, to be honest. I think he knew, because he told us to put the paddles in and not to move them, because having the paddle and moving it could look like a weapon. It could look like, you know what I mean? So he was keeping us in a silent, non-aggressive state. We were just floating with the river. I think my father knew all along what we were coming up to, and he wanted us to see it, and he wanted us, by not being aggressive and by being silent, getting ample enough time to see its presence.
So you know Bigfoot exists because you've seen one.
Yes,
Fair
and I
play.
could smell it. Yeah,
Okay, this leads me to the question I ask every single person.
I
What
keep leaning
strange
back. I
things?
apologize.
That's okay. Yeah, I can see you again now. What strange things have happened to you? Now, you can't mention aliens, you can't mention ghosts, you can't mention Bigfoot because you've already done those. So, is there anything else strange that's happened into your life? It could be a strange weirdo you met one day, it could be anything. Give us a
Well,
strange story.
I have seen some, I don't know if they were extraterrestrials or interdimensionals in shopping centers. And I knew who they were because of the frequency. They were it wasn't the same frequency that I feel when they come from me, but this was it was a frequency, and they were dressed enough that I knew that they were not local. But it was strange places. One was at a grocery store, another was at a Dollar General store, which was very strange. And it was time of year, holiday, around holidays, where it wouldn't be unusual for out of towners, maybe, someplace big like a New Yorker or somebody from California would be wearing clothes that didn't look like the clothes the locals were wearing. So in that aspect, the frequency for one, their clothing was the second thing. And the other thing is that they took notice of me and made a point to get themselves close to me. At the grocery store, this male managed to get himself from a line of people holding baskets to go to the checkout. He managed to get them to say, go ahead, go, you can go before me, you can go before me. And he ended up right behind me. And I think probably he was telepathically asking them, please move me ahead, please move me ahead, because he wanted me to know, which I already did, who he was. And so that was just their way of letting me know that sometimes they do come down and blend in, because this was a very human looking extraterrestrial, very human looking. And they were just checking out what it's like to be a human, and they were shopping and looking at the groceries.
Well,
And
that's the weird thing, isn't it? That means aliens, they just love shopping as much as all of us.
they like being among us and seeing how we conduct ourselves, because that's not their lifestyle at all. This is very different, very unique.
Does this throw up the question then that, in theory, they could be in our cinemas, in our concerts while we're watching a concert or whatever? They're everywhere.
Yes.
And how
Yeah.
prevalent are they?
Um, well, for me, I sense a frequency because they are at a higher frequency than us, and I can feel it. And but I think I've been told, not by the interdimensionals or extraterrestrials, but I've been told by other contactees that they like to go to places like Las Vegas or certain places in California because it's easy for them to blend in. They like being in areas where they could blend in and not stand out. So for me, I would think Mardi Gras would be a great place. The ball drop in New York would be a great place. Maybe on some cruise boats would be a great place. There's different places where they could easily blend in. And when I was young, and my parents, we would travel a lot and go to national parks and things. And my parents are in their 80s and they still travel some, not as much, but they were on a trip, and I think it was just the two of them, and they ran across this man, and I think it was at the Grand Canyon. And this was a time when none of us kids were with them, but there was a man that had a very long neck and was very, very tall. And you couldn't help but notice him. And that's what that was. That was an extraterrestrial going to the national park and doing all that. And, my parents recognized that. Of course, there's nothing they could prove, and they didn't go up to and try to converse or anything, but they did watch. and kept it on. So that my parents won't admit anything about this kind of stuff really, and they don't really like to talk about it because they're programmed to think certain things and they are comfortable with it. They're in their 80s. So, but there's a lot that they don't say. And then there's things that they do say that falls into this picture perfectly. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for that one. We are now entering the Koit zone. Koit zone! In the Koit zone, I will ask you random questions. They are nothing to do what we've gone through already. So it's just general things. So let's start with, what animal are you mostly drawn to?
Dolphins.
You have mentioned dolphins a few times. So yeah, I like it the way it came straight to mind as well. Have you been swimming with dolphins, by the way?
Yes. And they're attracted to me. They will break a routine. They will break their routine and swarm towards me. And they have to be disciplined to get them back in their place. Yeah.
So you're a troublemaker when you go to all these places.
Yeah, and they're like that with my children too. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. What's the last YouTube rabbit hole you fell into?
Well, I like watching everything related to extraterrestrial, everything related to disclosure. I have been watching a lot of stuff on transhumanism and, researching on how we could use AI as our betterment for humanity if done in the proper ways. So, just stuff like that. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely, jubbly. What is the best taste?
I love lemons. Yeah.
Lemons.
Mm-hmm.
Nice sharp lemon. What's the food that smells the worst to you?
Fish.
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 Do you eat fish?
I will eat fish, but I like fresh fish. I do not like fishy tasting fish at all. Yeah.
No, I'm on the same page. I only eat the white fish for myself. Yeah. That's the bland stuff, What's the most scared you've ever been?
Going
you can't
out.
Say right now.
Okay, well, I was in a building and the fire alarm went off. And this was when I was in my selfish ways, in my self-centered ways. I ran off and left my ex-husband. I just ran off and left him and went out what I thought was a door that would have stairs to go down. But when I got out there, the door shut and there were no stairs to go down. So I was stuck on this balcony with all the alarms going off, all the fire trucks coming around. And I was locked out of the building, stuck up like on the 11th or 12th floor. And it was realization that my self-centeredness had got me in this situation. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do because I had no phone, nothing. Back then we didn't really have cell phones like we have now. So, but, and I tried opening the door and the door would not open. The door would not open. So I went into a panic mode because I was stuck. There was nothing I could do. Eventually, by banging on the door, and I got somebody heard me and let me back in, but it was very embarrassing because obviously I just ran off and left my ex-husband like he was nothing.
And what did he say? Did he kick off?
He didn't get mad, but it was what it was. I mean, it was pretty evident that I just only cared about myself at the time. And, so I've changed a lot. I really have. But I think that was a lesson. That was an experience that I needed to experience to learn that I am no different than anyone else. And I am not better, and I should have been thinking about everybody around me, not just myself.
It's always good to think of it as a step along the way, like we mentioned earlier, isn't it? Step towards where you are.
So I learned to listen. Yeah.
Excellent. Can you sing or play an instrument?
No.
I was going to ask you to sing a few bars.
Oh, no, you don't want to do that.
I do want to do that, but you don't.
No, I don't. My
No, that's
talent
fair.
is doing what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Are you binging any TV shows at the moment?
I really did like certain things. I'm trying to think. I now just went blank on it. I've been watching Young Sheldon a whole lot. I like that.
Oh, from the Big Bang Theory thing.
Yeah, yeah. But golly, now I went blank. But what was that thing I watched with the dragons? The
House of Dragon, Game of Thrones.
yeah, yes, Game of Thrones. I absolutely loved that. I loved it. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
I like
second
stuff
season of
like
House of
that.
Dragons on soon, so you can catch up again on that. Um,
Yeah.
what part of you annoys you the most?
My uh, I, I'm disappointed in a lot of the decisions I made in my past, but I understand that they were a learning experience. And if I hadn't experienced it, I wouldn't be who I am today. And but it is annoying to think back on things I could have done differently. Yeah. But I try not to dwell too much on that.
Good. Well, like we said earlier, you've taken the step in the right
Yeah.
direction and you're living the right life now, so fair play. Last question in the Coit Zone. What is your favorite film or movie?
Go with the wind.
An old classic, eh?
Mhm.
When's the last time you've seen it?
Probably about 3 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't watch it all the time, but periodically I like to refresh it because it's kind of just for me, it's a look into the past of how much we've changed, and how things really do get better with time. Sometimes we don't see it, but there's it's visible that we've made a lot of things have happened, a lot of technology, and a lot of things are so different. But it's inspiring to see we can make good decisions. We just have
Oh
to
yeah.
do it.
Yes, exactly. And that brings us to the end of the Coit Zone. So thank you ever so much for that. That leaves us with two final questions, which are always the same. First one, what else do you like to do in your downtime? Any activities or guilty pleasures?
Hmm. I like to travel. I like to see different cultures. I like to understand religions and stuff. I'm not saying that I exactly believe all of it, but I do like to have an appreciation and understanding of how people live and how they interact with their life.
And have you got a travel planned? One coming up?
Not at the present, I really don't, but I'm open. I just kind of like play things by ear, and sometimes opportunities just open themselves up to me. I am going to be speaking at a UFO conference in Florida at
Oh,
the end
cool.
of the summer, so I am looking forward to that.
Good. So that might be a door to another world that you know
Yeah.
you're yet to go into.
Mhm.
So cool. Look forward to that one for you. The final question: what are you currently working on?
I am working on a book about my experience and my contact experiences and why they are here, what it means for humanity, and that kind of thing. And I'm working on improving my website, which is timefordisclosure.com, and also continuing to work on my Facebook group, which is Time for Disclosure / We Have Never Been Alone / We Are the Disclosure, building it and, putting lots of information for experiencers of all categories to interact with other people and links and resources for them to find out more. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. And on that basis, by the way, anyone listening or watching this, go and check out the description. All links to Nancy's sites will be there. So go and check those out. That's amazing. Have you thought of what the title of your book's going to be?
Not really. I think that I'll let my son and the interdimensionals and the extraterrestrials guide us there.
Okay, so whatever comes will come, and that's what it will
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I
I just
work.
designed a new logo for Time Disclosure, and it's going to be beautiful. Well, it is beautiful. My son owns a Vitality South, which is a computer internet internet tech or IT technology, internet security, web design, graphics, they build apps and programs, games, etc. They do everything. So we have created a new logo, and so I don't know. We're going to work on improving the website and giving it more character, and maybe some nice features to make it easier for people to get around on it and stuff.
Perfect. Well, look, Nancy, thanks ever so much for your time today. There's always new things I pick out in every conversation I have. There's a few gems you've said today that I've never heard before, and that's always good. I always like to add an extra piece of the puzzle to my bigger picture, which is still being made. So thank you for that.
It's good for me because it gives me the opportunity to explore more of my experiences and to share. So thank you for that.
Well, look, thank you ever so much for your time. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, dear. Bye-bye.
To watch other KoitCast episodes, please click the image top left. To subscribe to my channel, please click the image top right. Please like and share to help KoitCast grow, and most importantly of all, please click the notification bell so you never miss an upload.